So D times N times I, P times W. It's not very catchy, I confess. But it really is there to demonstrate that even small changes make a very, very big difference, particularly in the law firm world, because of the level of margin that we typically recover for the work that we do. So D are the number of pricing decision makers within a firm. These are typically the partners, but there may be some of you on the call. It may be others within your firms, but typically it's the partners. And let's say, for sake of round numbers, that we have 10 partners or 10 people who can make those pricing decisions. N is the number of pricing related decisions each of those make per week. And this is in the case of a conscious pricing decision, a very deliberate pricing decision. And our pricing decision could be what price we charge. Is it $100? Is it $105? It could be what fee approach do we use? Do we do hourly rates, or do we do it on a fixed fee or a cap fee? It could be, do I put Cynthia on the matter, or do I put Stuart on the matter? Because we maybe have different experiences, we may have different costs. But those are the types of things that actually are a pricing related conversation. It could also be, when do we have that conversation with the client about the work that's now going out of scope, or how do we negotiate with the client? Remember what I said about not negotiating in fives. So let's say that there's one of those that we do per week. What's the incremental profit each of those conscious decisions makes? And let's just say it's $250 for sake of argument here. And finally, how many times do we do it? W. And we say we do that 52 weeks of the year. Now, those of you who are much better at maths than I am will work out that that's a very big number very, very quickly. So think about the number of partners or people you have in your firm having pricing conversations, and think about the impact that even the small changes in behavior can make to the overall profitability. In this situation, every person who's making that decision would contribute $13,000 to the firm. Now, it's going to be slightly different depending on your firm and your practice area, the number of partners you have, but it's a very good guide to highlight this is why it's worth providing attention on this specific issue. Now, for most law firms, there's a 1-to-3 ratio. This is, again, a useful number to bear in mind. There's a 1-to-3 ratio between, if I improve my realization by 1%, in other words, I give the client 1% less discount, I'm typically going to be adding about 3% onto my existing profitability. Now, for most law firms, and again, I appreciate it will vary depending on your jurisdiction and the type of law that you do, it's likely to be about a 35% profit margin for most law firms. If your profit margin is 20%, it's a 1-to-5 ratio. So for every 1% you increase in terms of realization, you're adding 5% onto your existing profitability. And if you're at the other end of the scale, you've got a 50% profitability, it's a 1-to-2 ratio. But on average, it's 1-to-3. And it's a useful thing to remember because it helps add as a break when we're having those client conversations. So again, coming back to this point about not negotiating in fives, rather than going 5%, then 10% when we get some client pushback, by going from that 5 to that 10%, we've just lost 15% of potential profitability, which means we've got to find it from another client or for somewhere else. So again, it's a break on how far we're prepared to discount, and we'll come back to some of that theme as we go through as well.